the discovery on a forgotten moon far from Earth. A cleanup crew worked under a red sky. They were collecting alien junk from an old battlefield, rusted ships, broken machines, and strange metal pieces buried under dust. The war here ended over 100 years ago, but the scars were still fresh on the land. Among the crew was Leo Maddox, a 22-year-old engineer from Earth. He wasn't a soldier, just a regular guy trying to earn money. He loved exploring strange tech and often joked about becoming a space treasure hunter. "Hey, Leo, don't touch anything that glows," his friend Marco said with a laugh. Leo smiled and walked further, kicking rocks and brushing sand off old alien metal. Something caught his eye, a small light flickering under the dirt. He knelt down and pulled out a long, narrow box. It was black and silver, smooth like glass, but cold like ice. Strange symbols glowed on the surface, moving slowly like they were alive. "Guys, come check this out," Leo shouted. The others gathered around as he pressed a hand on the box. It clicked open with a soft hiss, and inside was something no one expected. An alien battle armor, perfectly shaped for a human body. It looked ancient, but untouched, shiny black plates with glowing blue lines. There was a helmet, gauntlets, and a chest piece shaped like a warrior's gear. "Maybe it's a museum piece," someone joked, but Leo couldn't take his eyes off it. It was calling to him, not with sound, but with feeling. Without thinking much, Leo picked up the chest piece and held it against his body. In a flash, the armor latched onto him, wrapping around his chest and arms. The others stepped back in shock, some yelling, some running. "Leo, drop it!" Marco shouted, but the armor didn't let go. It tightened around Leo's body and lit up with bright blue energy. A voice came from inside the suit, deep and loud. "Scanning genetic code. Match found. Activating host. What the hell is this thing?" Leo said, breathing fast. He tried to remove it, but the armor had locked in place. Symbols lit up all over the surface, glowing brighter with each second. Suddenly, a pulse of energy spread out from Leo's chest, knocking everyone back. His eyes glowed white for a second, and then he collapsed, unconscious darkness. Leo opened his eyes, but he wasn't on the moon anymore. He was standing in the middle of a giant battlefield, but it wasn't Earth. There were strange ships flying overhead, and alien warriors fighting below. He looked at his hands. They were not his. They were larger, armored, glowing with fire. In front of him stood a tall alien with red skin and golden armor, holding a burning sword. "You betrayed us," the alien said in a voice full of pain and anger. "You chose the humans, and now the galaxy burns." Leo wanted to speak, but his mouth wouldn't move. The vision faded, and he was back on the moon, lying in the dirt. The others surrounded him, afraid to come close. "What happened to you?" Marco asked, shaking him gently. "I don't know," Leo whispered, his voice dry. "I think I saw something, or someone." The armor was still on him, but it looked dim now, silent. Leo stood up slowly, feeling different, stronger, faster, more aware. But inside, he was scared. What did I just see? A memory? A dream? He thought, and more importantly, why did the armor choose me? Back at the base, they tried to remove it. Nothing worked. Not heat, not tools, not machines. The armor had become part of him. That night, as Leo sat alone, the chest piece lit up again. A new voice echoed in his head, softer this time. "You are the reclaimer," it said. "And war is coming." Leo stood up, heart racing, looking out at the stars. He had come here for a simple job, but now he was part of something ancient, powerful, and dangerous. Something had awakened, and it was only the beginning. The armor's secret Leo Maddox stood in front of the mirror in the base's medical room. The alien armor was still stuck to his chest, wrapped around his arms, humming softly like it was breathing. He hadn't slept since the discovery. He couldn't, not after the vision, Not after the voice. He lifted his hand, and the armor responded. Lines shifted across his skin. Blue light danced over his fingers, and he felt a pulse inside his bones. Like something was waking up. You're not just wearing it. Marco whispered from behind him. That thing is wearing you. Leo gave a weak smile. But inside he felt cold. He wasn't scared of the armor. He was scared of himself. The base commander ordered scans and removal procedures. Nothing worked. Lasers, plasma cutters, force fields. The armor rejected everything. It even melted a robotic arm that tried to pull it off. What kind of tech is this? The commander asked, frustrated. Leo didn't answer. He was listening to something no one else could hear. A voice, clear and deep, spoke inside his mind. System core engaged, memory lock lifting. The room faded around him. He saw an alien. World silver towers, blue skies, glowing rivers, crowds of beings knelt before a line of armored giants. One of them looked just like Leo in his current form. Then the world exploded in flames. Warships fell from the sky, and a dark shadow swallowed. Everything the vision ended. Leo gasped for breath, his body shaking. What did you see? Marco asked. Worried, Leo looked up with wide eyes. I think. I was there, he said. Not in a dream, not a story. I felt it. That night, while the crew slept, Leo sat near the window, staring at the stars. The armor glowed faintly, as if talking to the stars too. Then something changed. A blue hologram formed in front of him, an AI, shaped like a tall armored warrior. Its voice was like thunder. I am Narthan, strategic mind of the 12 armors. Leo stood, tense. What are you? He asked. The AI answered. Your guide, your guardian, your weapon. Leo asked a question burning inside him. Why me? I'm just human. Narthan paused and said, You are not just human. You are the last compatible heir of the Reclaimer line. Your DNA holds the key to activate what has been sleeping for 1,000 years. Leo's head spun. He was no soldier, no chosen hero, just an engineer from Earth. But the armor didn't care about that. It had chosen him for something ancient and powerful. Suddenly, the base alarm screamed. Red lights flashed, and the ground shook. Outside, black ships dropped from the sky. Alien mercenaries in jagged armor stormed the landing field. They weren't here for war. They were here for the armor. Protect the Reclaimer? Narthan shouted in Leo's head. The armor surged with power, wrapping around his body completely, forming a full suit in seconds. Leo stepped outside, and the world slowed down. He could feel everything, the movement of air, the charge of weapons, the footsteps of enemies. Instinct took over. He moved like a warrior trained for centuries, dodging, striking, leaping. Each punch knocked enemies across the field. Each blast from his hand sent shockwaves through the dirt. One of the alien soldiers fell to his knees and looked up at Leo in fear. He has returned, the alien whispered. The Reclaimer walks again. Leo stopped, confused. What do you mean? Who am I? He asked. But the alien only smiled sadly. You're the beginning of the end, he said, and vanished in a flash of light. The fight ended. The mercenaries disappeared as fast as they came. Back inside, the base was damaged. People were hurt, but they were alive. Because of Leo, but he didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a loaded weapon, and someone had just pulled the trigger. That night, Leo stared at the armor on his body. He didn't put itself on. He didn't fight with training. The armor remembered everything. He was just the vessel. What else are you hiding from me? He whispered. The armor replied, Power is not the secret. The secret is what happens when you unlock all of it. Leo looked at his reflection, eyes glowing faint blue, skin covered in alien metal. He was changing, not just outside, but inside and deep in space, across a dark galaxy. Something woke up, something ancient, something that once feared the reclaimer, and now it knew he was back. First fight, last hope, the base was quiet after the attack, but the silence felt wrong. The crew worked nervously, fixing broken walls, sealing cracks. Yet Leo couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched every time the armor pulsed. With blue light, he felt eyes on him. Somewhere out in the dark sky, Narthan's voice echoed inside his head, calm but heavy. The enemy knows where we are. They will return, and next time, they will bring death. Leo clenched his fists. He wasn't ready for this. He was an engineer, not a warrior, but the armor didn't care who he was. It wanted him to fight. That evening, while the crew rested, Leo went to the edge of the camp. The alien moon was silent, its red sky filled with two shattered suns. The armor hummed, almost whispering to him. "Your strength grows," Narthan said, "but strength without control is chaos." Suddenly, Leo's hand glowed, and a blade of blue energy formed from his wrist. He stumbled back in shock. The armor showed him how to shape weapon swords, shields, even spears, all growing from his own body. It was thrilling. It was terrifying. "Why are you showing me this?" Leo asked. The AI paused, then said, "Because if you don't learn, you will die." Hours later, alarms screamed again. This time, the attack was bigger, a fleet of black ships, dropping wave after wave of alien soldiers. The commander yelled for everyone to take cover, but Leo stepped forward. The armor covered his body completely, forming a battle mask over his face. His voice sounded deeper, stronger. When he spoke, "Stay behind me," he said. The enemy came fast, tall, reptilian. Aliens with burning red eyes, carrying plasma rifles. But Leo didn't wait. He ran straight at them, the armor reacting faster than his thoughts. Blaster fire rained around him, but every bullet slowed as if time had stretched. Leo's body twisted and rolled, avoiding shots like he had trained for years. The blade on his arm sliced through their armor like paper. For the first time, Leo felt the raw power of the suit. It wasn't just protecting him. It was turning him into something unstoppable. But the enemies didn't stop coming. A massive alien commander, almost 3 times Leo's size, stepped forward. Its voice boomed through the field. "Return the reclaimer armor, or all will burn." Leo didn't understand. "What do you want from me?" he shouted. The commander tilted its head. "We do not want you, human," it growled. "We want the god inside you." Before Leo could ask what that meant, the alien charged. The ground shook under its steps. Leo blocked with his glowing shield. But the hit was so strong it threw him across the field. Narthan's voice roared inside his mind. "Stop holding back. This armor remembers war. Let it show you how to win." Leo closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, something had changed. His movements became sharper, faster. The suit glowed brighter, symbols across his chest, pulsing like a beating heart. He wasn't fighting anymore. The armor was fighting through him. He ducked, spun, and struck with impossible speed. The giant alien stumbled, shocked by the sudden burst of power. Leo's blade cut through the enemy's weapon, sparks flying like lightning. The alien commander roared, "You can't control it." Leo grabbed the alien by the neck, holding it down with strength he didn't know he had. "Then I'll learn," he said, his voice shaking but firm. And with a surge of energy, the alien commander vanished in a blast of blue light. The remaining enemies fled, leaving only silence and smoke behind. The crew stared at Leo, half in awe, half in fear. Later, Leo stood alone, staring at his hands. He wasn't just wearing a weapon, he was becoming one. The armor whispered again, "You feel it now, don't you? The warrior inside you, waking up." Leo clenched his fists. "I don't want to be your weapon," he said, but Narthan's voice was calm. "You don't have a choice. The galaxy will come for you." Leo Maddox, because the Reclaimer has returned In the distance, far beyond the stars, a massive alien empire watched. A dark figure with burning eyes stood on a throne of black steel. "Send the hunters," the figure said. "If the armor lives again, humanity must not." Asterisk, the hidden memory. The stars above the moon base felt closer now. Leo Maddox stood on the edge of the ridge, his armor glowing faintly in the dark. He hadn't spoken much since the battle. His mind was trapped between fear and purpose. Inside him, the armor pulsed like a second heartbeat. Each beat whispered echoes of things not yet remembered. Each whisper pulled him deeper into something ancient, something alien, and something familiar. Narthan spoke suddenly. "You are ready." Leo turned, confused. "Ready for what?" "To unlock the first core memory of the reclaimer line," the AI said. "It has been hidden until your neural pathways stabilized." Leo took a deep breath. "Then show me." In a blink, the world vanished. His body froze, but his mind moved, falling through space, through light, through time. He landed in a field of blue crystal grass under two suns. Birds of metal wings flew across the sky, and in the distance, a massive temple floated above the ground. A group of armored beings stood in a circle, each one glowing with a different light. Gold, crimson, emerald, silver, and at the center, a figure that looked like Leo. Not exactly him, but close enough to make his blood freeze. "This memory is real," Narthan said. "You are watching your genetic predecessor." The original reclaimer, in the vision, the warriors spoke in a strange tongue. But Leo understood it perfectly. They spoke of betrayal, of war, of a dark enemy rising from the edge of the galaxy. They were planning to hide the 12 armors, lock them in vaults across the stars, waiting for someone strong enough to use them again. Someone like Leo. Suddenly, the memory shattered into black smoke. The floating temple exploded, and the golden armored warrior turned toward Leo, not the past Leo, the real Leo, and said, "They will hunt you, but they cannot stop you. You are the last key." Leo gasped and snapped back to the moon base. Falling to his knees, his body shook as the armor glowed with white-hot light. He saw flashes of all 12 armors, each locked in distant corners of the galaxy, each waiting for activation. Marco ran to him. "What happened?" Leo looked up, breathing heavily. "I saw everything." Later that night, Leo sat with the base commander and crew. He told them about the vision, about the 12, about how the Empire feared him, not because of what he is now, but because of what he could awaken. "They destroyed the ancient warriors," Leo said, "but the armor survived, hidden, waiting for someone with the right blood." One of the crew members asked, "But why humans?" "We weren't part of that war," Narthan answered through Leo's voice. "Because humans are the children of that lost race. Your DNA is broken pieces of giants." A heavy silence filled the room. No one knew whether to feel proud or terrified. Before the crew could process it all, the sensor screamed again. An object was approaching fast, a small probe, not a ship. It crashed outside the base like a meteor. Leo and Marco rushed out to see it. The probe cracked open, revealing a recording. A hologram flickered on a tall alien with shadowed eyes, and a crown of dark wires. "Reclaimer," the figure said. "I am Commander Vorax of the Ashen Empire, destroyer of the 12, and killer of your kind. If you do not surrender yourself within 3 solar days, we will erase this moon and every life on it." The message ended. Leo stood there, fists clenched, heart burning, there. "Not afraid of me," he said. "They're afraid I'll find the other armors before they do." That night, the armor spoke again. "One of the 12 sleeps beneath this very moon." Leo's eyes widened. "Here?" "Buried in the core," Narthan said. "It is broken, incomplete, but with your help, it can be restored." Leo gathered the crew. "I need to go into the tunnels below alone." Marco grabbed his shoulder. "Not alone," he said, "but..." Leo shook his head. If this armor was hidden, it was hidden for a reason. I have to face it myself. He entered the underground passage, the ancient ruins buried since before human history. The walls were covered in carvings, warriors, fighting beasts made of stars, temples crumbling under black storms, and at the center, the Reclaimer's symbol. Leo stepped into the chamber, and the room lit up. A second armor, damaged and rusted, lay inside a crystal coffin. As Leo approached, it pulsed weakly, like a dying heartbeat. He placed his hand on it. It lit up, and the symbols around the room activated. Then a blast of energy threw him backward, slamming him into the wall. His armor screamed. The test has begun. From the shadows, a guardian made of light and shadow rose, its voice shaking the ground. Only a true reclaimer may awaken the sleeping. Prove yourself or be erased. The Empire strikes. The chamber beneath the moon shook with energy. Leo Maddox stood facing a guardian made of pure shadow and light. It hovered above the ground, its body shifting like smoke. Its voice echoed from all directions. Prove you. Our reclaimer, or die as a thief. Leo raised his arms, the armor glowing bright. I don't want to steal it, he shouted. I want to protect it, the guardian charged. Its hand forming into a blade of fire, Leo rolled aside just in time, the blade slicing through stone like butter. He attacked with a pulse blast, but it passed through the guardian. No physical form, Leo whispered. It's testing my mind, the guardian stopped. You do not win with strength alone, it said. You win by unlocking who you truly are. Suddenly, the chamber melted away, and Leo was in space, floating in nothingness, stars distant and silent. Then a memory appeared, his own father, yelling, You're not made for greatness, Leo. Stop pretending. Another memory, him failing a test, losing a job, walking alone. He saw every weakness, every mistake, every fear. He dropped to his knees, armor dimming. The guardian's voice returned. You cannot carry the legacy of gods if you still carry the weight of doubt. Leo closed his eyes and remembered something different. Not power, not battle, but kindness. His mother's voice. You don't need to be perfect, she once said. You just need to stand up when it matters. The armor glowed again, stronger than before. Leo stood up slowly. I'm not a god, he said, but I'm still here. The guardian paused, then stepped back. That is enough. It vanished, and the second armor rose from its crystal coffin. Cracked but still alive, the armor hovered into the air and opened. It didn't attach to Leo, it folded into a silver cube, locking itself onto his back like a relic. A soft voice echoed from the relic. Armor 2, Sentinel class linked. As Leo returned to the surface, the skies above the moon changed. A fleet of massive ships appeared, black, spiked and humming with weapons. The Ashen Empire had arrived. At the center was a colossal flagship, its cannons bigger than entire buildings. Inside the command center of the Empire ship, Commander Vorax stared at the moon base through red holograms. Target locked, he said. Charge the Eclipse cannon. Back at the base, Leo and the crew scrambled. We can't fight that, Marco shouted. That's not a warship, it's a planet killer. Leo turned to Narthan. Can we stop it? Only if we act before they fire, the AI replied. Once they launch, nothing survives. Leo didn't hesitate. He looked at the relic on his back. Can this second armor help? It has no body, Narthan said, but its core holds a shield matrix designed for one-purpose defense. Then let's use it, Leo said. The relic unfolded, surrounding the base with a glowing blue dome of energy. But it wouldn't last long, not against a weapon built to break planets. Leo looked at his team. Get everyone underground. Marco stepped forward. What about you? Leo looked at the sky, where the enemy ship charged its massive cannon. I'm going up. Inside a small interceptor craft, Leo took flight. The armor extended into the ship. Fusing with its systems, his hands moved with impossible precision. Guided by Narthan and instinct, he flew directly toward the center of the enemy fleet. Alarms echoed through the Empire ships. One pilot yelled, "The reclaimer is coming straight at us." Vorax stood calmly. "Let him," he said. "He'll die like the rest." As Leo approached, the fleet opened fire blaster storms, filled space like a swarm of bees. He dodged through them, his craft twisting with unnatural grace. But he couldn't reach the flagship in time, the Eclipse cannon. Charged light gathering into one massive beam, Narthan screamed. Impact in 10 seconds. Leo did the unthinkable. He flew directly into the beam's mouth. At the last second, the Sentinel relic activated fully. A shield bloomed from the ship, and the cannon's blast hit it, but it held. The moon below lit up like daylight. The ground shaking violently, but the dome around the base didn't break. The beam ended, and silence returned. On the enemy ship, Vorax stared in disbelief. He blocked it. Leo's interceptor floated, smoking but alive. Inside, he smiled. "Guess I'm not just an engineer anymore," he said softly. Then Narthan gave him news that froze his blood. Another signal detected. The third armor? Just activated. Asterisk. The betrayal of the stars above the moon were still glowing. But something had changed. Leo Maddox sat in the recovery chamber. His body bruised, his armor cracked. He had stopped a planet-killing weapon. Yet inside, he felt no victory. Narthan's voice whispered in his mind. "The third armor has awakened, but its signal is distant and hidden." Leo clenched his fists. He had no time to rest. If the Empire found the next armor first, this war would be over before it even began. But deep within the base, someone was watching him closely. Someone who didn't belong. Someone who had waited for the right moment to strike. Later that night, Leo walked alone through the tunnels. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the faces of people who nearly died under that Eclipse cannon. He saw what he could become: something more than human, something dangerous. In the shadows, a figure moved, silent, eyes cold, heart locked behind loyalty to something darker than Leo could imagine. It was Elias, the base's communication officer, and he wasn't who he said he was. At dawn, Marco burst into Leo's chamber. "Leo, the shield is down," he said. "What?" Leo stood up, alarmed. "The relic shield, it just shut off, on its own," Marco said. Narthan's voice cut in. Sabotage detected. Leo's heart sank. They had been breached. Seconds later, the sky roared. Dropships from the Empire rained. Down like meteors, black-armored soldiers poured out. Weapons drawn, eyes glowing red. Leo rushed to defend the base, but something felt wrong. His armor responded slower than usual. The HUD flickered. "Something's interfering with my systems," he growled. Narthan replied. "An internal hack is overriding protocols." Suddenly, the armor shut down. Leo collapsed to one knee, gasping. The enemy didn't fire. They surrounded him. Waiting, from behind the lines stepped Elias, wearing an Empire crest on his chest. "You trusted me," Elias said coldly. "That was your mistake." Leo looked up in disbelief. "You were with us the whole time." Elias nodded. "And watching everything. You're not a warrior, Leo. You're a time bomb." Then Elias pulled out a device. He pressed it, and Leo's armor began to detach. The metal pieces tore away from his skin, like living chains pulled from his soul. He screamed. In pain, Narthan's voice faded. System shutting down. Core disabled, the Empire soldiers grabbed Leo's weak body and dragged him into a black transport. The door shut behind him, and silence filled the ship. When Leo woke up, he wasn't on the moon anymore. He was in a cold metal cell, floating. Somewhere in deep space. No armor, no weapons, no AI. Just chains made of anti-energy and walls that absorbed sound. Across from him sat Commander Vorax, the warlord of the Ashen Empire, a tall, silent monster with skin like stone and eyes like dying stars. "You're not a threat," Vorax said. "You're just a boy with armor you don't understand." Leo didn't answer. Vorax walked closer. "But I'm not here to kill you," he said. "I'm here to use you." He opened a case, revealing the cracked core of the second armor, the Sentinel, still glowing faintly. "We took this from your relic vault," Vorax said. "And now we will reverse engineer it." Leo watched as machines tore into the relic. He could feel it pain. The armor wasn't just tech. It was alive later, in the dark cell. Leo sat alone, shaking. The pain in his chest felt worse than anything before. Not physical, but something deeper. Then he heard a whisper, not from the room, but from inside. "You are not done." Narthan, barely alive. Whispers of its code still lived within Leo's mind. If they break the Sentinel core, they will break the chain. If the chain breaks, the 12 will fall. And humanity with it. Leo stood up, weak but burning inside. He touched the metal walls and felt them tremble under his fingers. His body remembered the armor. His blood remembered the power. Then something changed. His skin began to glow. Blue lines crawled up his arms. Symbols formed on his chest. He screamed. But it wasn't pain. It was rebirth. The armor was no longer just a suit. It had become part of him. Outside the cell, alarms began to sound. Leo burst through the wall. Like a storm, energy blazing around him. Soldiers opened fire, but the bullets melted before touching him. He didn't need weapons. He was the weapon. He stormed the lab, destroying the machines holding the Sentinel core. The relic flew back into his hands like it knew him. It fused into his spine, and a new voice spoke. "Sentinel upgrade. Integrated." Vorax arrived, furious. "You were supposed to be weak." Leo looked him dead in the eyes. "I was. But you made me something else." Reclaimer Awakens the warship shook as alarms screamed. Leo Maddox stood in the center of the Empire's command hall. His armor no longer separate from him. It was now part of his skin, his mind, his soul. Energy flowed through him like a living. Storm Vorax, the feared warlord of the Ashen Empire, stepped forward. His armor was ancient, dark, and scarred from 1,000 battles. But even he paused as he stared into Leo's glowing eyes. "You were supposed to be a tool," Vorax growled. "A relic in the hands of children." Leo didn't answer. The silence around him spoke louder than words. Behind him, pieces of the Sentinel armor hovered in orbit like fragments of a shattered moon. They moved with his breath, ready to strike, across the galaxy. Distant listening posts received the signal. Reclaimer confirmed. Armor 1 and 2 reactivated. Genetic key linked. Some watched in fear. Some watched in awe. The legend was real. A prophecy had started. Inside the warship, Leo moved. Not like a man, but like a force. He charged at Vorax with a burst of light, his energy blade forming. Mid-strike, Vorax blocked with a black shield, and the two clashed like titans. Each hit shook the room. Walls cracked, systems failed, lights shattered. Soldiers on both sides stood frozen. Watching two gods battle in the flesh, Vorax snarled. "You think this power makes you a savior?" He slammed Leo with a shockwave, sending him crashing into the deck. Leo rose slowly, bleeding, but smiling. "No," he said, "it makes me responsible." The ship began to fall from orbit, damaged beyond control. Leo knew he had one choice. "Left," Narthan's voice whispered. "The third armor is near, still sleeping. If you link to it now, diffusion will be permanent. You will no longer be human." Leo stared into the core of the ship, where the third armor signal pulsed behind sealed doors. He looked down at his shaking hands. The skin was already fading, replaced by glowing circuitry and alien steel. He had already changed. Marco's voice crackled through the comlink. "Leo, the base is clear. Everyone made it out. You don't have to do this alone. Leo smiled sadly. I was never alone, he said. I had the voices of every warrior who came before me. He ran into the core chamber as the ship fell toward the moon's surface. Vorax chased after him, but it was too late. Leo reached the third armor shaped like wings and fire and placed his hand on it. The chamber exploded with light, and everything changed. Silence. Then a heartbeat. From the wreckage, something rose. Not fully man, not fully machine. Wings of white flame stretched behind him, symbols glowing across his skin like living history. The final evolution of the Reclaimer had arrived. Leo was no longer wearing the armor. He was the armor. Vorax stood shaking. He raised his weapon, but hesitated. You're not like them, he whispered. Leo stepped forward. I remember what your empire did, he said calmly, but I also remember what mercy means. He raised his hand, not to strike, but to deactivate his weapon. You don't need to kneel, he said. You just need to stop. Vorax dropped his blade. The fight was over. In the days that followed, the war ended. News spread across systems. The Reclaimer had returned, but not to conquer, to unite. Leo didn't take a throne. He didn't claim power. He became a guardian, a signal of balance between the old and the new. The 12 armors began to reawaken across the galaxy, not as weapons of destruction, but as tools of protection, entrusted only to those who remembered what it meant to feel fear. And still stand. 1 week later, Leo stood on the surface of a quiet moon. The stars above him were endless. Marco stepped beside him. Think the galaxy's ready for peace? Leo looked up. Maybe, he said, but we'll be ready if it isn't. Narthan's voice returned, now calmer, older. Signal detected. Armor 4 has awakened. Leo smiled. Well, he whispered, guess we're not done yet. Above them, deep in orbit, a transmission from an unknown planet echoed one line. To the Reclaimer, we remember, and we're waiting.